This video is going to show you how to make sure that the cable you're using to power your SpotterRF equipment is properly built, grounded, and seated in the radar. Whether you use our cables, which we recommend, which will have the correct requirements for them, or you use your own cable, you need to test them when you receive them to make sure that they're providing the correct data and power to the radar. So what I have here is basically a simplified version of the power kit that comes inside of our SpotterRF shield enclosures. And we're going to show you how to make sure to test for the continuity to make sure that the radar is grounded all the way through the system. So to test that the cable is correctly grounded, we're going to use, I just have a real simple voltmeter here, and you can use any type of voltmeter or multimeter that you want. And what we're going to do, we have here our cable, we have it plugged into our PoE injector, and then the RJ45 heads we use on these are shielded as well. And so what you can do is to make sure that you have grounding, you just use the multimeter, and for this example we're just going to check that it's grounded to the pin on the plug, on the grounding pin. And so I just go from my RJ45 head over to the pin, and you can hear that I am grounded, and that's what we want to see. So now I've applied power to our power kit, and so we have power running through the PoE injector into our Cat5e cable. Now we're going to use it's a power panel, it's a cable tester that allows us to make sure we have the correct voltage and connectivity coming over from our Cat5 cable. So everything that's included in our cable test kit, obviously we have the cable tester, we have a GTC extender that allows us to test the end of our GTC connector on our Cat5e cable, and then just a simple patch cable. And so what we're going to do is first we're going to attach the cable RJ45 end from our Cat5e cable into our test kit extender. And we're going to make sure that we get a good connection. So once that's secured onto the extender, we're going to take this end and we're just going to plug it into one of the ports on our cable tester. Now to turn this on, you just hold the top button for a few seconds. So now that we have it plugged into our cable tester, we can see what kind of power, by pushing test PoE, we can see what kind of power is being put into the through the Cat5e cable. So we see that it's putting out 30 volts DC, which is fine. Or the radar will work anywhere from 12 volts to 30 volts, and it's got real low wattage because there's nothing else it's pushing power towards. We can also see that the power is on lines 4, 5, 7, and 8 of our Cat5 cable, which is correct. That's what we want to see. Now that I can verify that I have the correct voltage coming out of my cable, we're going to plug into the radar. So using the other port here, we use our patch cable, and then we attach that into the port for the radar. And then we're going to take a look at our cable tester and see what info it gives us. Now that we're plugged into the radar, we can tell that the wattage is about 10 watts being pushed to the radar, which is what we want. That's correct. And we're still at about 29, 30 volts DC, which is also where we want to be. So we know now that we have all the correct connection and power going to the radar. Now that we've verified that the radar is receiving the correct power and connectivity, we can unconnect our patch cable, and we can unconnect from the radar, and we can also unscrew from our GTC extender, and we can set that aside. Now we need to make sure that we get our GTC connector correctly seated onto our radar, and we're also going to want to make sure we use the dielectric grease to make sure that we have a good connectivity and we keep water out. So to do that, open up your dielectric grease packet, and we're going to apply just about a pea-size amount of the grease to the end of our radar and to the end of our Cat5e RJ45. as well as into the opening here of the port on our radar. Doesn't take a lot. Now get the radar aligned correctly with your cable. Now these GTC connectors can be a little bit easy to cross thread, so you're going to make sure that you get about a whole revolution and a half, and it should only leave about the amount, the thickness there of about like a quarter. And that's how you know that you're seated. That will be waterproof if it's done correctly. And now that we know we have the correct grounding and power, our radar should work as expected.